Okay, we are live. Whenever you're ready.
All right. All right, the Facility and Recreation Committee meeting of the Park District of Highland Park is called to order on Thursday, January 20th, 2022 at 5 p.m. on the nose. Pursuant to Section E of the Open Meetings Act, the President of the Board of Park Commissioners has made a finding that it is neither practical nor prudent to hold in-person meetings because of the COVID-19 public health emergency. Neither the elected officials nor the public will be allowed to attend regular or committee meetings in person, but will participate virtually. Links to the virtual meeting can be found on the Park District website. Roxanne, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Freeman,
Here.
Commissioner Bernstein,
Here.
President Rottenberg.
I am here.
All right, Executive Director Romes, are there any additions to the agenda?
There are no additions from staff.
Okay, is there anyone from the public who is attending tonight's meeting?
Currently, there are 2 that are attending.
Awesome. Anyone wishing to speak should use the raise hand function in Zoom to indicate you would like to speak. The board secretary will call on registrants who have activated the raise hand feature in alphabetical order. Okay,
Okay, it looks like David Silgan would like to speak, so I will allow him to talk. Oh, or somebody already has. So, David, it looks like you are in the meeting.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I assume you can all hear me?
Yes.
Good. I'm going to be speaking to the temporary boat repair. I think you all probably have heard that the fundraising through the Parks Foundation is going well. Over 180 people have contributed, and we will definitely hit the $300,000 goal. The loyalty program with the power boaters were lagging for 2 reasons. First, as a topic, it's not top of mind in the middle of winter. And second, loyalty is a 2-way street. The park board's strong support for the temporary repair will go far to communicate to the power boaters that the park district has their back. The support will make it easier to sell the program. Aside from the loyalty program, the repair is critical for a successful boating season for both the power boaters and the non-boating community. Being able to launch power boats makes the site safer for everyone. We were lucky last year. We shouldn't press our luck for this coming season. In comparison to the Park District's positive cash flow of $5.7 million as of the financials reported in November, and the last year's $2 million positive cash flow, the cost of this repair is really insignificant and will go a long way towards supporting the community and the boating community. Thanks.
Thank you, David. There's nobody else with their hand raised at this time.
okay. Is there a motion to approve the facility committee meeting minutes from December 2nd, 2021? I couldn't hear. Is there a second? Was there an anyone? Is there a motion?
I saw a motion from Barney.
I second that motion, and I reviewed the minutes, and they look fine.
Okay, perfect. The motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the recreation committee meeting minutes from December 7th, 2021?
So moved.
Second?
I can't because I didn't attend the meeting.
Then you could second.
Oh, okay, I'll second. What the hell?
Okay, the motion carries.
Aye.
Do we vote on passing the minutes if the only 2 other people have
It's fine, just go on.
procedural?
Yeah, you have a motion in a second, and so
Okay,
if you say it's carried, it's good. That's
just
great.
checking the procedural component there.
You're good.
All right, moving on to the Centennial Ice Arena project updates. Manager Schwartz to present or to introduce Gaywalt Hamilton Associates and Woodhouse Tanucci.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
All right. First, real quick, is May on the line? I didn't see her, so I'm just checking.
Can you see me?
Oh, there you go. All right, thanks, May. I'm glad you're here. All right, I'll give a quick introduction. So we are here tonight to provide an update on the Centennial Ice Arena facility renovation project. We've just received preliminary cost estimates for this project. And those cost estimates were based on our design development. I'm going to pass it on to May from Gaywalt Hamilton and Associates first to review the exterior scope. And then we'll turn it over to Andy from Woodhouse Tanucci Architects to review the interior scope and our progress, the various iterations that we looked at during design. And then I'll end the presentation by reviewing the cost estimates and a look at the entire project budget and our next steps. So with that, May, I'll set you up here. Let's see. Oops. So we have two scopes. This is the interior. Here's the building. This is north. This is that north parking lot and the main parking lot. May is going to review the exterior scope. So hang on a second here, and I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to May for you to share.
Okay, let me see. Hopefully this will work out. Screen 2. Oops. Can you actually can't see myself? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see. your
Yeah.
screen.
We see the three pictures, the drainage photos and the
Okay,
aerial.
cool. Okay, great. All right. So good afternoon. My name is May Ju. I'm with Gaywalt Hamilton Associates, civil engineer. So I will go over the site improvements for this project. There are basically three major components to the site improvements. The first one is a drainage improvement. This is to alleviate the building flooding situation. The second one is a new turnaround, the drop-off drive. And the third component is a parking lot improvements. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the building flooding, so I got a couple of pictures here and an aerial photo of our facility. So this is our building. Can you see my hand on the screen? Yeah. So there are two circles here which represent two doors. On the northwestern door, this is the door at the gymnastic room, and there's another door here. And historically, water has been getting in the building through these two doors. So this basically is this door here. So you can see water is flowing. Actually, water is flowing from west toward the building. And basically, it turns both ways, going this way. So it's actually coming here to go to the building at here, and also getting in the building here. So this picture is the water in the building. So Park District engaged us to do a drainage study. This one was the initial scope of this project. So based on our investigation, there are, okay, my hand is here. So this again is our building on the east side here. The doors are here. So we found out that there's large tributary area from west, even west of Route 41. So it's a lot of area flowing to this low area here. That is the reason we're getting a lot of flow, and these doors are really low. That's why it caused the flooding in this building. I'm gonna flip to the site plan here. So again, circled here are the two buildings. So we are proposing a new storm sewer conveyance system. We are having two systems here, north of the building and around the west and going south of the building. This system was proposed is because we're limited to the depths, elevations. So ideally, we would want to, reduce the cost and have one system. But unfortunately, we can't fit large pipe through here. It's pretty flat. You probably all know it's very flat here. It's getting flooded here as well. So that's why it's very challenging to get all the water around here. So that's why we have a second pipe system. So that have some added cost. So that's the first component of the improvements. Second one is this new drop-off here. And this new drop-off will accommodate the fire truck. This is the city requirement. Then we'll have a rain garden here. Then the third components are the parking lot improvements. So we will be reconstructing this parking lot, and we are proposing a bay here, a bay of permeable pavers to help with the water quality and infiltration. And then north parking lot, we are proposing a new storm sewer system here because it's so flat and it doesn't, water will pump here when it rains. So this system will outlet to the creek. Let me zoom out a little bit. Overall, we're also improving site lighting. Existing site has 5 lights, I believe. We are proposing to have 19 light posts. There will be 3 here. There will be, let me see, 9 in this parking main lot, and there will be 7 in here. Another improvements we were looking at is to improve the pedestrian path for safety. So we are proposing a connection here from north parking lot to south parking lot. We're also having this path through the island here. And we are having this connection here from the parking lot to this existing path here. And then on this side of the parking lot, we're also connecting this path here. So the pedestrian would walk through here, as well as here. Some other minor improvements are some back racks. We're going to have 2 locations for back racks, and we're replacing that existing fountain here. That is pretty much our site improvement scope.
Do you guys want to stop and ask scope related questions to May, or should we keep going to review the building and the budget and then ask questions at the end?
I prefer to ask questions as they come up.
Sure.
Madam Chairman?
Okay, so Barney, it sounds like you may have one. Would you like to go first?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Has there been any consideration given to a retention pond to the west to hold the water so that it could then be released at a slower scale and maybe not require the elaborate piping?
Yes, initially we did look at this area here, but this is very limited area.
I'm sorry, maybe I don't have the directions right, but if where the 2 doors are, isn't that on the west side?
Correct.
All right, so what about putting a retention pond west of the doors so the water that you said is flowing into that area could be retained and then moved into one pipe rather than this elaborate piping system?
So there is a path here, gravel path here, service drive. And there's a lot of trees and woods. This is, I think, the district view this as a high quality, environmental sensitive area here. So we won't be able to do a retention basin here.
Okay,
There are a lot of flow here, so we will need a large area to provide the the detention or retention for it.
okay, and we've determined those are quality trees that we should not affect. Is that right, Brian?
They've been working with the city, so that would, May and Amalia will be able to answer that. From the
And
city's
that,
perspective.
I believe that came from a study that we got from our natural areas manager, Rebecca Grill, that
Okay.
had been done in the
Okay.
past.
All right, I yield to the experts on that. My concern, I'm going to speak to a couple of things. I see there's only, you're saying one bay of permeable pavers. Are we not losing the opportunities of enhancing the environment by more bays of permeable pavers? Or is that a cost item that you determined?
It will add cost to it.
Yeah, but it seems like we're making a gesture here and not really paying attention to the overall parking lot and doing what should be done.
So this parking lot, even if we convert the entire parking lot into permeable pavers, we won't be able to help anything with the building. It will help, environmental, it will provide quality, water quality before it get to the creek.
Yeah, which I think is a laudable goal, but I'm not.
Yes, so there will be a lot of cost increase if we do that.
If the committee wants, we can certainly get an estimate. We could follow city standard. I think city has a parking lot standard for permeable pavers. It's a percent. It's not the whole parking lot, but it's a percent. We can look at that and compare it to what we have proposed here and see what the price difference is.
Well, I think at the minimum, we shouldn't do any less than the city did when they put the parking lot into the south of City Hall, or when they put the parking lot in by the high school. I know they didn't do it, but I don't care which government did it. So I think if anything, we should, we owe an obligation. If we're going to worry about the trees, we have to worry about the water quality and the environment as well. All right, I know you'll look into that. My real biggest concern is the fact that there are a lot of kids ranging in all ages who are running through this parking lot to get into their classes, to get to their hockey game. They're getting dropped off. I know it's a drop-off area, but I am very concerned as to the light levels that we provide. And I want to make sure that what we provide is at the highest possible light level. Again, for the safety of the kids. There are constantly, I know I used to almost hit kids all the time when I took my kids there. It's dark, you're in a hurry. And I just want to make sure that we've got much more adequate light, and especially to that lot to the north, which was always been, kind of the outlier that you run into, and then you have to scramble to get from that end all the way through. So I don't know. I want to make sure that the lighting here is at the highest standard we can during the times that we're going to be seeing kids running in and out of this place. And I don't know if the lights that you projected are adequate or not. I have no way of knowing.
For the north lot, right now, there are only like 2 lights here. You can see here and here. And with the new one, we have 7 total. And the light design is per the city standards.
Well, it's to the city standards, but I don't know if that means it's adequate for our purposes. I don't know what that means to say it's to city standards as opposed to somebody wrote a spec. I mean, if you have a kid and you're dropping them off and the kids are running carrying a hockey bag, you want to be able to see them.
May, would we be able to get some more information from the lighting designer to do, there are ways that we can visualize what that lighting will look like in the center of the parking lot and other views, so
Yeah.
that we can show you what's designed for right now. And then we'd be interested in getting your feedback on how we have it designed at this point. But that was a concern that we talked a lot about during our design meetings, and was definitely something we're trying to address.
Okay, and it's not
Okay.
just for this lot, it's also for the other lot where,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
more, it's more the rush in, drop the kid and go.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, all right, that's good. Thank you. Those are my concerns at this point. Thank you.
All right. Cal, anything from you?
Yes, can you go back to the topo survey, please?
This one?
Where it has the numbers. Okay, can you blow it up a little bit towards where the location is?
Oh. Hold on. I'm trying to
Okay,
zoom in, but
that's not us, is it? That's 41.
this is our building here. This
Oh, I'm
is
sorry, I can't see because my Zoom screens are there. I mean, what are they? Okay, now I can see it. So I see it's so that area west between Centennial and I believe that's 41 there.
Yeah,
Who owns
this is-
that property?
this is Park District, I believe.
Okay, so how many acres is that?
The park oh, you mean just this area
Yeah,
here?
just give me like a ballpark of what that area, what's the, how much space is
I
it?
would say the total is 31 acres, maybe 6-7 acres.
And are there any improvements in that area? Is there any structures?
I don't think so.
That's all open space.
It's all woods.
Woods.
Yeah, woods, okay. So I'm seeing that if the elevation goes from 660 to 655, so based on my high school math, is that just, it's about a 5-foot difference in elevation height, elevation from, let's say, where 41 is and where Centennial is. Is that a fair statement?
It's actually about 10 feet.
Oh,
This
10
is
feet.
660 contour here. 650 is this red one wrapping
I
up
got you.
here. This is 50, so it's above 10 feet.
10 feet. So it seems like there's a lot of space there. Did you explore other water mitigation efforts to direct water away from Centennial short of doing a storm sewer? And what are those other alternatives that may be available to us? Pretend that there's no trees there, that it's a clean slate. What are the other alternatives that could be available?
If it's not wooded and trees, this will be ideal to build a retention pond to delay the water coming. So, but these constraints were like that this one was a high quality sensitive environmental area.
This is a hypothetical question. I understand that we have an environmental report from our wonderful from Rebecca Grill, who's indicated that should be a protected area. I get that, but I'm just trying to see what possible other water mitigation efforts can be done there. So one is if it was a clean slate that you could do a retention pond. Is there any way of doing any like swales or anything else to redirect water?
Okay, so let me show you this. One other thing is there's a constraints here on our site. I'm sorry, I gotta just one sec, my remote. Apologize for this.
No worries, take your time.
can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so let me zoom into this corner. Another limitation we have here is we have a generator here. And this ground goes up, slopes up very quickly. So, and the door is right here. And then we have water here. So, ideally, we want to have an open channel to convey the water. That's more efficient than a pipe. That's cheaper than pipes. But these are the limitations.
I understand. So if they relocated the generator, would you be able to do some trenching there to relocate the water around the building, short of having to do underground pipes?
Yes. So if this is gone, but we still have to get rid of these trees, and we still have to cut into this slope. This ground goes up very quickly. So there's a lot of excavation, dirt moving as well.
So there is a possibility of trenching around it, or putting a swale there, or a combination of maybe drain tile and swale to direct the water around the building, so it's not penetrating the building, number one, but number two, it doesn't require us to do an elaborate sewer system around the building, two sewer systems around the building.
Right. But if we have to do that much earthwork, cutting all those trees, replanting the trees, the cost might be going up as well.
Okay.
I believe there's a cost to because we did look at this, moving the generator would be a high cost.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
We can look at that, but that
Yeah.
was, I don't have that ready to answer you today, but that was something that we looked at early on in this project.
Okay, I understand that putting in sewer systems is very expensive, and these are pretty long sewer systems. So what I like to come back to the board, to this, at least this committee, at least speaking for myself, I like to see what alternatives that you considered, short of having to put in this elaborate sewer system in that area of the building. And I would like a copy of the tree survey indicating what kind of trees are there. Are they key trees? Are they heritage trees? Are they important trees? Just so we know that it's just not, like those are not like cottonwoods up in there. We're not looking to protect them, that those are actually important trees that we should be trying to preserve. So I like to see that information also. So that's in that area of the building. Now, if we can go to the north parking lot, if you can bring it up to there now. And I basically have the same series of questions because you're talking about putting another sewer system. Now, this area to the south of the north parking lot, I assume that's the north parking lot, right? I get very confused. Yeah, that's north. So it's to the east, I guess. So the east of that north parking lot, who owns that property?
We do.
I'm sorry?
We do.
Okay, so the Park District owns that property. Now, where is the sewage, or the canal, or the river, the North Fork, the East Fork, or the North Fork of the Skokie River? Where's that located?
It's somewhere here.
Okay, so it seems like another big parcel's right there. Is there any way of doing? Did you explore any alternatives besides putting in a sewer system in that area that would also move the water away from the north parking lot?
This system is it's only 12-inch pipes.
Okay.
They are relatively cheaper. And right now, this parking lot only has one inlet here, and it's clogged. And that pipe, I believe, actually going this way to this system, but that's clogged already, so it's not draining. And so that's why we're putting a pretty small system just to take the low flow there. This is not a major drainage improvement. It's just to drain the parking lot surface.
Okay. All right, and so there's no way of, you're basically saying that putting that 12-inch sewer pipe in is more efficient and maybe even less expensive, or just as expensive of exploring another alternative in that area. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, for this area, yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'm fine there. But going back to the other area, I'd like to see some further information, what alternatives were considered, and a copy of the tree survey for that area also.
Hey, could I just jump in and ask a question that may be more obvious? Why can't we move the doors? If you're saying it comes in, it floods in through the doors, isn't there an alternative to doing something with the doors?
I'm assuming those are emergency exit also, probably.
Yeah. We can look at that. We can explore that.
Yeah, let's just, I think what Cal is asking more generously than I do, because he's smarter than I am, is let's see what all the alternatives are, whether it's a radical alternative or like, hey, never thought of that. I think Cal's, asking some very probing but good questions.
Okay, now switching gears to the pedestrian ingress and egress. That was one of the questions I asked at that last meeting. I appreciate that that you're trying to make some accommodation for that. I guess when you come back, I mean, is this going to require? I should ask. Is this going to require a traffic study to analyze this, or is that what you're providing us?
It doesn't require a traffic study. It is just the design considerations.
Okay.
We're
So
not
it's
making
basically-
any changes, at least to the parking lots. I don't know if, just to clarify, it's the same. It's
Well,
the same boundary.
Well, we are changing the ingress and egress around the building by putting that loop there. So we are changing the traffic flow. So I would like a more robust presentation on how the cars and the pedestrians are going to interact on the site.
Well, I'm sure we could probably walk through that right now as far as the traffic flow and the pedestrian flow. I know you touched on that a little bit.
I would like to see an exhibit with potentially cars waiting in that circle drive to pick up, and what that's going to look like. And when cars are trying to get around, I would like to see an exhibit showing that, to make sure that there's sufficient space there to allow for that, and then at that point you can walk us through, because what's going to end up happening is that cars are going to queue up there after end of programs, and there are going to be people who are picking up children there, and there's also going to be people who are going to their cars in the parking lot from people who are watching, and I would just like to know how that's all going to work.
We
Yeah,
have
so
that
that was-
exhibit, so
Yeah.
we can bring that to another meeting and share that with you.
Yeah, I just want to see how everything's going to work in that parking lot.
Understood.
Okay. I think that's, and then the lighting, I'll just rely on Barney and he can go out there and hold a flashlight. I mean, I'm sure that would be workable also. So I'll rely on Barney on the lighting. So those are my questions. Thank you. Appreciate your responses.
Okay, and from me, really, I had more questions about the questions about the circle drive, and everything else you guys really tackled. So it sounds like we will be getting additional information on that.
All right, so then looking at time too, if there's nothing else on the exterior, then we'll move on to the interior. Okay, thank you, May. So if you can stop share, and then we'll pass it over to Andy.
Okay, everybody. Good evening. Wanted to transition from the exterior improvements onto the work that we're doing on the building proper. I'm going to leave it in this viewing mode as opposed to the full screen. It's just slightly smaller in this configuration, but if we need to zoom in, it'll be easier for me to zoom in onto any of the portions of the presentation. So if any of this is too small or not legible, just let me know. As Amalia and May have discussed, we've got the orientation of the whole project, the larger scope of the project, and we really just want to talk about this area inside of the pink bubble here. This is the building proper and interiors, the new addition and interiors. So we've been working with staff really on this project since the application for the park grant
Got it.
a while ago. We've looked at several such iterations to the plan, and I will enlarge the plan with the final version, but just wanted to show you that we've worked through several potential iterations. We had strategies that we were looking at for the renovations prior to the addition of the Giants locker room. We then started looking for this space for the Giants in the building. We've looked at those locations in multiple locations, and we've thought about the future of the facility or the options for what we could do with the space if the deal with the Giants doesn't continue to move through. We don't want to design a plan that is contingent on their presence in perpetuity. So we've looked at the space with and without that Giants locker room. So here, as we start to zoom in, is the actual scope that we'll be pursuing with the project. It's really not involving the gymnastics room or the mechanical room or the ice arena proper. You've got some other side projects that you're working on in those areas, but the primary architectural improvement occurs inside of this pink zone. Just for orientation, north is to the right, the new entry vestibule is here. The new reception desk and staff area, the new lobby. Here's the locker rooms where they exist and the renovation of those. Let me zoom in a little bit more for you. Okay, so this is one half. Again, orientation to the north, right is to the north. Here's the entry vestibule, a new vestibule. This is an addition to the building, this section here. You'll enter into the building and you'll be looking at the new reception desk that'll present itself right to you. So you'll have visitor services right there at the front door. The office spaces, the open office, and then a private office are directly behind that reception desk. Coach's room is just adjacent, facing the lobby and near to the entrance to the arena, which remains generally in the same configuration and location as it is currently. Just around and to the right from the entry is where the Giants locker room has landed, doorway into a small vestibule with a stick drop, dedicated lockers, storage, coach's space, and its own restroom. And then a single multi-purpose room here to the north of the lobby space. A couple key features from the lobby. You'll now have nice views out to the park to the east through this new window here, and also through a window and an exterior window here to the north. So we'll get nice views from the lobby, which will really open it up. In addition, we're adding more view into the gymnastics room, which I know is a gymnastics room now and maybe something else in the future, but still more viewing here with additional windows and larger windows from the multi-purpose room here. The project involves a renovation to the existing restrooms, but those configurations stay the same. And we are adding a single user, family, gender neutral restroom here in the lobby space.
Andy, could you go back for a second?
Sure thing.
We'll keep this as an interactive. I would just wonder if the office locations may be rethought a bit, because I would think that we'd want the manager to have more of a view into the facility. And you've got that office, the way I read it, as they have a window to the world, but shouldn't they be at a place where they can see what's going on?
You know, I can leave that to the staff to speak to. We've looked at several different configurations for the offices, and
I realize that. I realize that. I'm just bringing up an observation.
Yeah, that was something that we talked a lot about, and we had it flipped. We had a lot of different ways that we looked at this, which we can share. But this was the choice of the manager and the staff that work at Centennial.
Well, okay, I can understand some reasons, but I would think that we would want to have the manager have a better view of what's going on in our facility than the window to the world. But that's a personal observation.
We can look back at that.
I wish you, yes, I'd appreciate that, because, you know, we're responsible for what's going on. The coach's room is nice, but they're not responsible for overseeing what's happening inside the facility. Okay, that was my comment on that.
Okay. Further to the south where the existing locker rooms are, the 4 existing locker rooms will be fully renovated. Each will have its own restroom, but they will share a shower room. So as you can see, you'll enter in, stick drop, lockers, restroom per locker room here and here, but then they will share through this doorway a shared shower. Through many conversations with stakeholders, we've also learned that these showers are seldom used, certainly by not by the majority of the participants. So the notion that we could reduce the number of showers is represented here with this solution. As part of this investigation, and we'll show you some rendering, we are proposing to remove the ceiling of the lobby space and make it a much more voluminous space, keeping the 3 existing skylights and adding another, but gaining a lot of volume in addition to those views to the exterior. The addition of that, the removal of that ceiling and the increase in ceiling height in the lobby raised the question of whether or not a mezzanine could be possible. So we've looked at the option of whether a mezzanine is possible. It is possible. We've presented some costs for what that mezzanine option would be. You can see in this plan, the mezzanine would occur in this location here. There would need to be a lift for accessibility to the mezzanine, as well as stairs on and off the mezzanine. But that mezzanine would allow for some additional viewing positions into both the room that is the gymnastics room currently, as well as the arena. This is an axonometric of the lobby space. Here's the new vestibule. Here's the reception desk. Here's where the mezzanine would be here to the west side of the lobby. I'm tracing it. This is the gymnastics room with additional windows into the gymnastics room. And this is the view into the arena with additional windows into the arena to the south. This section, you can see the increased height, and you can note the ceiling heights. It is possible to fit the mezzanine. It definitely is not, gracious headroom, but it's absolutely possible. We haven't studied this option in as much detail. We basically did a feasibility analysis, but we did produce this one view for presentation to the staff, and so that you could see what the lobby would look like. Here's the mezzanine here inside of that lobby with the additional views into the arena, the additional views into the gymnastics room beyond. So moving on to the design of the space, we looked at several options for the new reception desk. So just inside the front door, this is the view that you would see of the reception desk. We've looked at several different options for what the desk could be as we've developed the design. In working with the staff, we've landed on a design that looks like this. So here's the view inside the front door of the lobby space. This is the front entry desk, the reception desk, the walkable floor, the skate proof, or the soft skate friendly walkable floor turns up onto the reception desk. You have a higher position for transactions with the staff here. The skates are stored on racks just directly behind. We drop a ceiling plane that's for slight sound attenuation, identification of the desk, a little bit of added warmth in the space in this manner here, with some additional TV screens both above the desk and adjacent to the desk. This is so that we can welcome guests. We can inform them of events that are happening, pricings, locker assignments could be happening on this TV screen back here. Panning around, you can see the added volume in the space. Much taller space. Here, we've got natural light coming from the window on the east. We've got natural light coming in through those skylights, and you can see the increased viewing here to the gymnastics rooms beyond. From inside the lobby, looking back at the reception desk, this is that view. You'd be standing at the gymnastics windows in this position, looking to the east. You can see the window out to the park, the reception desk, the coach's office, and then the view of the arena here to the right. This would be the door position into what is being conceived as the Giants locker room. And then just stepping out to the exterior, the project has, incorporates this new entry vestibule into the project. So here too, we've explored many different options. The kind of just glass gem of an entry vestibule, should it have an overhang, big overhang, is represented here by this option. Even bigger overhang is represented here by this option, or maybe just something a little bit more modest to provide just a little bit of cover. we've kind of moved in this direction here of the lower right, and you can see a couple views of that developing the design. Just this new glass vestibule, tall glass windows letting in as much light as possible into the entry, sliding glass doors so that hockey players and skaters with large bags can come in and out without having to worry about opening and closing the doors or damaging the doors. A small overhang here. We've also been looking at an option that it might be a little bit better for signage. We're still developing these concepts with staff, but this would build a screen, a kind of perforated metal screen around that assembly. It would allow us to simplify the upper portions of this assembly in this scheme a little bit and trade some of those dollars for this screen that would be a place for signage moving around. Also allows us to conceal some of the existing conditions like the scupper that is right at the front door behind this veil. So with that, I would just turn it to you guys for any questions.
Barney, do you have any questions on the design?
Get rid of that. Andy, I want to compliment you and the team and our staff for the gorgeous interior view, which you showed us. This is a great view, and this is a remarkably wonderful view. I mean, this is what I hope it looks like. And I don't know if I see any reason why we'd spend the money or at this point deal with the mezzanine for this facility. But I was very impressed by this openness, the generous windows into the gymnastics facility. I think this is a very nice approach. And as far as the exterior, I do like that massive glass entry. Not too keen about the wavy part that you were showing. I think this is just fine the way it is. I think it looks good. And by the way, when people get here, they're going to know it's Centennial, or else they wouldn't even be here. So we really don't need a lot of signage. Those are my comments on this.
Awesome. Cal?
Well, let me begin by saying that it doesn't get old to say that that a member of the Olympic team for this year in China is trained at Centennial. Saw him in many ice shows there. So we're all very proud of Jason, and I appreciate that the Park District is celebrating that, because I've seen some banners up, and I don't know if you knew that, Andy, but we have an Olympian who's trained at Centennial Park, and I really appreciate all the efforts that have gone into these plans. We've seen these plans several times. I'm impressed. I think it's a huge improvement. I think that Barney's correct. I think that front desk is gorgeous the way you've designed it, and I'm sure it'll be refined as the plans evolve. With regard to the exterior, I kind of frankly like the other overhang. It kind of reminded me of our discussions at Sunset Valley when we decided to do that pergola around Sunset to try to I guess modernize a very old building. And this is a building that's 50 years old, and I kind of like that larger overhang that kind of makes a statement that improvements have been made. This building's different. So I'm not married to it. I like the other one that Barney suggested. I don't think the signage is necessary. This wavy thing, I don't think that really is necessary, and it comports well with the building. But I like those two other designs. I agree with Barney that there's no need for the mezzanine level. I think opening up and creating the more volume, as you spoke of, would make that lobby work better. My only comments with regard to the lobby, number one, I don't see any TVs there, and I'm a big fan of TVs. So I hope that is included in the plan. The second thing I had about the lobby, I'm trying to remember the coach's room. I mean, my kids didn't play hockey. I'm like Barney's, because what's the purpose of the coach's room? Is just a place to put their coats, or do they actually do something in the coach's room?
Do we have maybe Carol can talk to that? It looks like Carol's on the line.
Yeah, I can answer that. It's for the skating coaches, and it's where they put their skates on. So they sit there before and after class, put their skates on and put all their personal belongings in that area.
So it's not for the hockey coaches, it's for the figure
Correct.
skating
No,
coaches.
it's correct. Skating
Okay.
coaches.
Okay, that's fine, misunderstood. Thank you. And by Carol, congratulations on everything you're doing over there. You're doing a fabulous job at Centennial. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
And then the last question I had, and I don't know if this is the right time to ask, but at the last meeting, I asked a question about the condition of the ice, and I don't know if that's going to be brought up at this meeting or the next meeting, but someone could just fill me in how the ice conditions are at Centennial. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I could speak to that briefly, Cal. It's Chris. Can I be heard?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear
Yeah,
you.
the ice conditions themselves are significantly improved from our initial concern dating back to this summer. As we mentioned earlier, we brought in Don Winger, who's our facility supervisor there, and he's done just a fantastic job with ensuring the ice thickness is correct, the levelness of it, and so on and so forth. So the playing surface itself is doing fantastic, and we have not gotten many concerns as of the last several months.
Great, thank you. One last question, Chris. Who won the Highland Park Deerfield game this year? Do we know?
I'm going to send that one to Carol.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I
Okay.
will have to find out.
All right. I'd love to know who won that game. Thank you.
Could we go back, Andy, to the exterior showing the overhang that I believe Cal, no, I think it's the other picture. No. Nope. Oh, these. I think, Cal, you like the one that shows the extended black?
Yeah, I kind of like that because it basically shows up like it's a new building.
Yeah, I love that one. It
That's
looks
my-
expensive.
This one here, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the choice of the three commissioners who are on this call.
We'll ask more questions about that when we get to budget. Was there anything else, Cal?
No, I have nothing else. Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Sure thing.
I just had a few quick follow-ups. I do love that one with the extended overhang. I was going to say that, but on the interior, if someone from the park district could answer for me. So I've only been for open skate and things like that. When is everyone sitting out in that open area? Because whenever I've been there, it's a lot of seating, but everyone's skating and there's just skates there. You know, like everyone leaves their shoes or something and there's no one in there. So what does it look like during a game or other peak times when there's classes that I wouldn't be there for?
Yeah, during classes, the lobby is packed.
Okay. I figured, but I just thought I would ask instead of
Yeah.
assuming. And then it also looks a little loud in there. So what mitigates the sound or dampens the sound issues if there's a bunch of people in there? That's for Andy.
That's a good question. So you are correct that it will be a bright space sound-wise. I actually think it will be more acoustically temperate than the current space because the current space has a hard ceiling and a low ceiling. This additional volume with all the beams will provide the kind of like variety of ceiling space, and a sloped ceiling space is always helpful. So I think that there isn't a whole lot of acoustic treatment in the space. Certainly there's room for acoustic treatment to be added, but I think that this solution represents an improvement over the current space that's there with some more kind of ups and downs and ins and outs in the sloping ceiling.
Okay. I wouldn't mind, that being a consideration going forward, just because, once you're doing this, what else could there be? And what does it cost to make it just a little less loud?
That's great.
Okay. That's all from us. Anybody else, commissioners? Nope. Okay.
Happy.
All right.
Yeah,
great.
this is great. I didn't say that. This looks great, by the way.
So I know we're kind of coming close on time. Do I have time to go through the budget real quick?
Hit us with the snapshot. How about that?
All right, wait, hold on. Can you see my screen?
It's coming up. There it is.
There we go.
Nope.
Does it say Centennial Ice Arena?
Not yet.
Oh,
No,
no.
but your
It says
cursor's moving.
Sorry, no. Stop share.
There we go.
Okay. All right, so this is the base scope that you saw. This graph is showing the 4 items that we've shown you in one of the, I think it was the last facility committee meeting. This top line item is the Centennial facility renovation, which includes the building and the exterior. I have another slide that kind of outlines that, which I think I'm going to skip to just because of time, if you don't mind. So Centennial Ice Arena facility renovation, this is the September estimate that we had been showing, I think in September at the facility committee, and this is the 22 approved budget and the 2021 projections and capital plan. This is the January estimate, which we just received. This is a variance column. And this is the variance from the approved dollars. So our budget is coming at a little over 2.9 million, which is about a $700,000 overage. Our soft costs are staying the same. We had slightly more in professional services with Woodhouse Tanucci for the mezzanine feasibility study. You can see that the building is coming at 1.7. But that 1.9 that we were talking about always included the turnaround and the drainage and the site work, which is coming in high, which we talked about earlier with May. So we didn't know the extent of the need for the drainage improvement and determine that through further engineering and design with Gaywalt Hamilton. So you can see that cost, and we're also holding a contingency. This is for the whole project. Our parking lot resurfacing is coming in slightly under budget. And then the parking lot lights, you can see, is coming in $20,000 over budget. And then we have a separate line item in capital for HVAC replacements. That was budgeted at $40,000. That was always considered a separate project, but we're wrapping it into this project because it just makes more sense. And that's coming in at $21,000 over budget. So we're a total at $735,000 over budget in this project. This is these are estimates, preliminary estimates based on our design development plan sets. They are not bids. They are not like the final cost. So these numbers help us move forward in design and make decisions. So we're interested in getting your feedback on the various options that we see.
Okay, wait, could you go, I'm sorry, could you go back to the prior page? And I apologize for this. Would you, are we looking to get, I'm sorry, to get the $700,000 over budget variance, is that the drainage, turnaround with lights, landscaping, and contingency?
Yeah. That's the whole project. That's the.
But those are the materially, that's 500, that's 800, well, you know, that's 800, that's almost $900,000 for those 4 items.
Which 4 items? Tell me, repeat that again.
Drainage, turnaround with lights, landscaping, and contingency. That's 6, 8, that's almost $900,000. I know there's some savings, but is that what's driving the $700,000 variance?
I would say that the drainage is the main component to the increase in costs, as well as just inflation that we're seeing in the industry right now.
So if you take out the okay, so the contingency was always 300,000, or it wasn't?
We had always had a buffer in our budget, and I can walk through that. I don't have that slide today, but I can walk through that with the group.
I think it's just holding, because each line item would say HVAC is 21 over, but then, you know, or parking lot is this under, but then all of these are individual line items lumped together that were included. So that, I think that was just the confusing.
Yes. so this 1.9 was it was always said, it was that 1.9 included
I
the
got it.
building, it included the drainage, it included the turnaround with lights, the landscaping. It was just this lump sum that was incorporating this larger project that was developed. It was based on concept planning, and there was a buffer there. And so that
Got it.
buffer was that contingency. Was it exactly $300,000? I don't think so. We're including that now for the advice of our consultants, and because of where we're at in design, that contingency can get lower and will get lower as we keep moving along in the project. But where we're at in this project, we want to make sure to hold some like a wiggle room there for unforeseen.
So not to beat a dead horse, but at one point early on, it was like, okay, we think all of this together is about 1.9 million. And then we started digging, figuring out, looking at the drainage, and now there's some better estimates associated with that. And then the whole deal is more than we thought.
Right. And May and Andy can talk through this, but they are using their design development like plan sets that we did not have in June when we were doing capital planning, capital budgeting. So we are much further along in this project so that we're able to have more firm costs to what we're doing. And it's a turning point for us. It's a opportunity for us to take a step back, look at how much things are actually costing, and make some decisions about how to move forward.
So again, the building cost is about 200,000 less, but then and maybe for a minute we exclude the contingency, but the drainage, turnaround with lights, and landscaping are going to come in at $600,000 plus or minus more. So we save 200, but we're.
Yeah, I appreciate that this may not have been the best way to visualize this. I was trying to find the best way to tell this story, but this 1.9 was not just for the building. We had talked about it as these items as well. It was a larger project dollar amount. So,
okay, I understand that. I think we got it.
Okay. All right, so we're looking for feedback from the committee, and I know we're coming to the end of time, so I can stop if someone tells me to stop. But otherwise,
I think you have a few more slides if it's okay with
the
board. We can just go through those and show the different options.
Sure.
The next step.
Sure. Yeah. So we're looking for some feedback from the committee on how we proceed. And we got some good feedback from you thus far. So I think that will help inform this next discussion. So the base option, which you saw, did not include the mezzanine, and we had been talking about a sound system, so it didn't include those items. So it had the lobby, the locker rooms, this list here, which Andy and May had gone through today. There's another option. There's the all-in option that includes the mezzanine and the sound system. That puts us at about $1.2 million over budget.
Well, let's keep going. What's next?
The north lot as is another alternative we can look at. The north parking lot is a component of this project which we can eliminate without impact to the other components of the project. The south parking lot, the turnaround, and the building all kind of come together, and if you take one out, will impact the other. So by taking out the north parking lot and those lights, we are at $430,000 over budget. Again, that includes that $300,000 contingency.
How much is, before I go, just give me a second here. Giants locker room, that's based upon a shared cost, isn't it?
Yeah, we can talk about that. That's and Chris can provide that update on the Giants, but it is assumed at a shared cost.
Okay, thank you.
And then adjust the scope. So we can, if the feedback is that we want to go $0 over budget, we can, which I know is always the goal, but we can take that time to step back and look at other ways to and I just want, before I go through this, I just want to be clear that our next step is always to go back and try to value engineer. But I put this option in here as an opportunity to kind of also bring this up. We can take a step back and really relook at the direction that we're going and try to adjust the scope and cut the scope so that if we know that the priority is $0 over budget.
Okay.
I have a next step slide, which I can go to.
This is the last slide, I think.
Yeah, let's see that.
All right, so we, before the next facility committee meeting, we are going to finalize the scope and look at those reductions for budget purposes, and look at the feedback that we heard from you guys today, and come back with more information. And we're continuing through January through March on construction documents and value engineering, looking at different ways we can cut costs and build the bid for alternates. We are going to start a city entitlement process. This is primarily for the exterior, going through the city approval process.
Can we go back to the prior slide? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Spring permitting, bid award and value engineering. And then fall construction. And then fall completion, rather. We start construction in June. And this schedule is based on avoiding any program impacts at Centennial.
Okay, now can we go back to the prior slide where the options are presented?
Sure.
Okay, so in terms of budget, Barney, do you have questions in the budgeting arena here?
Now, I have gonna put aside the dollar amount and know that if we did things and made it cheaper and didn't do the things that make this into a substantial worth spending the money on building, we're going to be sorely regretting having a cheap building. And I realize it's still over budget, but I just can't see cutting out any of the improvements that we saw in the slides.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. And I'm even sad when you talk about taking out a sound system, because it's, kind of a big deal and something that you'd want to install during construction. That seems hard to retrofit later. And I thought we were sort of going to be shelving this for a while when we were looking at the exterior and talking about some of the, land around there, et cetera, and the drainage. And then when we got to the inside, I mean, we all just really sort of came together on that. And it looks like an amazing place that we want to go to. And then when we saw the front, but when we're looking at it topographically, there's some stuff to work through there. So, Cal, do you have any comments? I mean, she's looking for a consensus on how to proceed and what, which lane we feel we're in. And Barney, I hear you saying that we should be looking at the best possible building for sure.
Well, obviously, the wow factor, we spent a lot of time creating a plan here. We've probably seen this plan at least a half a dozen times, and each time it looks better than the time before. So the process is working. I think it's impossible for us to give staff direction on whether we should be at budget 430,000, 1.2, or 740,000, because this project is not done in a vacuum. It's not done in its own silo. If we go over budget, impacts other items on our 5-year capital plan. So in order to analyze whether we should even think about going over budget, we have to basically look at our 5-year capital plan and see we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, taking something away from a different project so we can direct it towards this one, because obviously we have a finite amount of money. Money does not grow on trees. So I think that I assume this is a cap. This is in the 5-year capital plan. This is not a separate green print project. Is that correct?
In the capital plan.
Okay, so I think I think that discussions with regard to budgets and going over budgets, because I think the consensus was spending a certain amount of money, and that was written to the 5-year capital plan. I think that if we're, and I'm not arguing against it, but I'm saying if it's the consensus is that we're going to go over budget and listen, prices are going up every day. I mean, this is a crazy world we're living in right now. A 30% contingency may not even be enough. And I'll be honest, I'm not confident in these numbers either. They're not verified. I mean, until we get a GC in there and these things are actually bid, then we're going to have some ironclad numbers. So these numbers could still be off. But I think that any discussion about going over budget should be done in concert with a discussion of the 5-year capital plan and how that fits in, because obviously this line item will become more expensive. And lastly, I do agree with you, Jen. I think that the sound system is important.
Everybody, I think, the sound system is important. I think the fact that we had a budget number, I know, Cal, your opinion about that, but a budget number is simply a guesstimate of what it's going to cost. And so I would, in my opinion, I'd proceed with North Lot as is, but with the sound system, and see what kind of cost. And before we go, what is the cost to us to do the Giants locker room? Is there a dollar number you can give us?
It is coming in at 142,000, but that includes that's the whole space. Yeah.
Okay, so that would cost us $70,000. Isn't that the deal?
Barney, if I may-
we made a commitment to the Giants.
I'm not taking it away. I'm just saying that I just wanted to get an idea of what that element is. I don't have any issues with North Lot as is, but with the sound system being the approach that we should try to fine tune.
Well, I think at this point, I think the facility committee has exhausted our
mandate.
Our mandate with regard to this. Thank you, Brian. With regards to direction, with regard to this project, I think now this has to be handed off to the finance committee to determine how it gets paid for.
Are we in agreement on not exploring the mezzanine right now, though? Or
I never liked the idea in the first place.
No, I didn't see any purpose for it.
okay, so I think that you have consensus on that.
Thank you.
That's good. So I think we have some good feedback on the design, and we can continue to work with the engineers and see what our options are for value engineering. We can look at the budget, and we can look at the impacts of what being over budget would have collectively. And I think on the 10th is our next facility meeting. Our next finance committee meeting is the week after that. But we can collect this information and share it as soon as we get it together. Does that sound a good summary of the discussion from the committee?
And also looking at alternatives to the stormwater management.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so are we closed on Centennial?
I believe our esteemed colleague from the city council has her hand up.
I do see Council Member Littleworth.
I hope it's okay to speak up, but I just wanted to share that, Barney, I think, first of all, the projects look beautiful. I'm so impressed. I really am. And, I sat on PDC before coming over to City Council. So looking at these kind of projects is always, I think it's the best thing that we all do. But Barney, to alleviate your concerns, I would hope a little bit. I assume, Brian, you're going to be working with Gita and Joel in terms of lighting, in terms of permeable pavers, because, the city, I worked on the parking lot for the high school. So permeable pavers were like, after a while, I just felt like that's all I knew were permeable pavers. But they certainly, from everything on PDC, really look at all the options and the light levels and everything else. So I would just urge you to take advantage of your sister governmental entity. And I'm happy to help you with that. I'm sure you've got that under control, but I just wanted to add that. So that's all.
Thank you.
Jen, I have one more question. Have we explored, I know that we explored a grant for the entire project, but especially for the stormwater and the water aspects of it, have we explored any grants? Is there any grants available to help offset those costs?
Well, have you looked at the Lake County stuff for water grants? And I mean, I don't know what's been looked at, but Brian, again, I would say, the city manager is just wonderful at that stuff, as I know you are, but you might explore some of that too.
Yeah,
We
so,
can-
go ahead.
I was going to say we have not applied for a grant at this point for drainage, but we can look at that and look at the timing of the grants and how that would work with the project schedule.
Maria, we did.
Oh yes,
submit
I'm so
to-
sorry. Thank you. Yes, thank you, May.
Yeah, we did submit to SMC, but I guess at this point we haven't heard from them, meaning that they don't have available funds for this year. But we did submit it.
Thanks, May.
Okay, are there any other questions related to Centennial from the commissioners?
Nope.
We do have, so I think that that's it. Thank you so much for presenting. I appreciate it. As we all do. And Amalia Schwartz, we have Westridge Park site up next.
Sure. So give me a second. I thought we were doing that one in finance.
Well, yeah, Commissioner Freeman, and I'll ask the finance committee. Amaya certainly can give an update, and if there's further discussion, we can continue this meeting, or we can also add it to an additional agenda item at the finance committee. That would be fine as well, in case there's, a reason to get that one started sooner. It's up to the board, so just throwing that out there.
I'm okay with moving it. What do you think, Bernie?
Move it
Yeah.
to, move it.
Okay, we'll move it. Cal, you good? Okay, so we will move. Oh, go
Chairman
ahead.
decides.
Yes, we'll move it. Fantastic. Okay, Executive Director Rooms, is there any other business from staff or board? Cal's waving me.
None from staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, May.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Great job.
Okay.
Move to adjourn. Move to adjourn the finance committee meeting. I mean, what meeting was this? Whatever meeting
Facility.
you just had.
Recreation and facilities.
Yeah, I moved to adjourn for that meeting.
Second.
All
Aye.
in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
So we've adjourned at 6:18.
18 p.m.
Okay, ready to start? Let's want to keep on going.
Cal, you're the chairman of the finance committee.
All
You
right.
wanna
I'm
call us
calling
to
to
order?
order. The Finance Committee meeting of the Park District of Highland Park is called to order on Thursday, January 20th, 2022 at 6:18 p.m. Pursuant to Section 7E of the Open Meetings Act, the president of the Board of the Park Commissioners has made a finding that it is not practical or prudent to hold in-person meetings because of COVID-19 public health emergency. Neither the elected officials nor the public will be allowed to attend regular or committee meetings in person, but will participate virtually. Links to the virtual meeting can be found on the Park District website. Roxanne, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman,
Here.
President Rottenberg.
I am here.
We have a quorum, and the next item on the agenda are additions to the agenda. Executive Director Romes, are there any additions to this agenda?
We would like to add the Westridge Center project update to the agenda.
And as chair, that's fine. We'll put that at the end of the. Is there a Westridge portion of this agenda? No, we'll put it at the end of the
No.
agenda. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comments for items on the agenda. Executive Director Romes, is there anyone from the public attending tonight's meeting?
Yes, there is.
Does anyone wish to speak? Anyone wishing to speak will use the raise hand function in Zoom to indicate that they would like to speak. The board secretary will call on registrants who have activated the raise hand feature in alphabetical order. Executive Director Rome's or Roxanne, will you call on the raised hands, please?
Yes, so Garrett Flynn had his hand up first, and we can allow him to enter the meeting.
Okay, Mr. Flynn, the floor is yours.
Is everybody hear me? Are you able to hear me?
You're a little choppy.
Okay, is
I
that
think
any
you're okay.
different?
No,
Okay,
you're okay.
all right. So I want to start by complimenting the fundraising efforts by the Park District as well as the fundraising committee. With the plan to fulfill the $300,000 goal, we want to turn some focus to both retaining and growing the boating community. With the launch falling into disrepair as a result of the damage sustained during the dredging process, there were many boaters that opted to store and or launch at locations other than the Park District provided option at the Winnetka boat launch. As we have tried to garner support for the loyalty program, we have run into a number of responses, and I paraphrase. Having launched at Lake Forest this year, we really felt like the facilities and the fact that there's more dock space to allow for multiple boats to launch was attractive. It doesn't feel like the Park District is really committed to the HP launch, so I won't make any commitments until it's clear that they will do the larger renovation. Next comment. The launch was damaged before the official start of the 2020 season, and the Park District still hasn't been able to mobilize to fix that repair even after the full boating season. Next comment. The Park District Board expressed a commitment to do the temporary repairs if the cost was in the 30 to 35K range as WJE estimated, but now there seems to be a lot of pushback from the board to cost justify the temporary repairs for ROI during the 2022 boating season. With the board constantly changing their stance, I don't feel that they're truly committed to getting the launch back open, and I will wait and see what happens. Next comment. We are interested in buying a boat, but we don't want to do so if we can't launch there in Highland Park during the 2022 boating season. If the launch doesn't open this summer, we will just wait to see if the PD does the larger project before proceeding forward. And end of comments. As evidenced by the interest shown in the 10-year loyalty program that exceeded the original target of 5, there is yet further opportunity for loyalty commitments. Considering that there are many families waiting on the sidelines to see what happens, please help us garner more support, further boater support by, first, making an immediate commitment to making the temporary repairs to get the launch open for this summer so that revenue can come to the Park District. And secondly, extending the loyalty window beyond January so that families waiting to see that the PD is committed to getting the launch open this summer have additional time after the PD commits to opening the launch this summer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. I will just note that the sixth item on our agenda tonight is Park Avenue, and under A, the temporary boat ramp repair project bid results will be, so there'll be a discussion about that this evening. Is there anybody else with their hands raised?
I currently do not see anybody else with their hand raised. David Sogan had his hand raised, but I don't see it now. So unless he's changing his mind, which I don't see that happening. So I think we're good.
I always like hearing from the former Commodore. So absent anybody else from the public, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the Finance Committee meeting minutes from December 8th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion by President Rudenberg and a second by Commissioner Freeman. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the Park Avenue. There's two items. One is the temporary boat ramp repair project bid result, and the second is the breakwater and boat ramp replacement project. And I believe Director Smith is going to present on both items.
Jeff, you are muted, just so you know.
All right, sorry, I have too many windows here I'm juggling right now. I apologize, I can't seem to get to be able to turn my camera on, so you don't get to see me right now, but you can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, so we're going to start with the Park Avenue temporary boat ramp repair project. So following up the last time we discussed it, the Finance Committee was in November, and we also provided a recent update on this project. at the January 11th Lakefront and Parks and Natural Areas Committee meeting. So since that last update, we have received all of our bid results for this project. That was this past Tuesday on the 18th. Happy to say that we did receive 7 bids for the project. The project, the way it was bid out was in 4 separate items. So the first item was mobilization and general conditions. The second item was pouring the concrete topping over the damaged area. So it's this area right here that's highlighted in red. The main area we've got the failure. So this would be correcting this area.
But Director Smith, I'm not seeing anything being shared on the screen. Am I missing something?
Yeah, I can see it.
I can see it.
Should I continue?
I got it. I found it. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
I got it. Thanks.
So as I was saying, the second item is this item surrounded in red here. This is where the large failure was. This would be topped with the concrete. And then the third item was fill in a void in this upper portion here. There is a large void under this area. We'll be filling that with concrete. The fourth item, which we had as an alternate, was repairing a damaged portion of concrete right up in this area. So as I mentioned, we did receive 7 bids for the project. And you can see here, those items I just described are shown in the respective columns here. And Misfits Construction Company was the low bidder at a total of $30,500. And then if you add the alternate, it's $34,500.
Jeff, what is the alternate?
I'll go back here. The alternate was right here, this last section of concrete that was damaged at the top. So it's a portion that's had to get patched periodically by our parks crew. But it's something that if we include it in the project, it can get done, and we can assure that the lifespan of this project, it would last. And so I'm going to move here again so you can see the bid results. Please let me know if you have any questions about them, and I'll give another just brief summary of the project. So as we've discussed before, but just to reiterate, the focus behind this project is to reopen the powerboat launch from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend. As was mentioned, we also have the other Park Avenue boat ramp project on the agenda this evening. We'll be talking about that. But I'll say for that project, once the bids come back, we will, and if it is approved, that project would move forward immediately after Labor Day. So the idea here was that this would make the ramp operational and safe from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay. Anything else, Jeff?
No, I'm going to move on now. I'm going to pass this on to Director Carr to talk about the financial impact to the Park Avenue boating facility.
Still for the temporary fix, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff. I'll kind of walk through this, and Jeff's going to help me because he'll guide the presentation. We were asked to provide a comparative review to the operational finances, considering the budget and considering the temporary repair, as well as if we didn't do the temporary repair. So there's going to be 3 columns you'll see. The 2022 budget, the second one is the temporary repair, and the third will be without the concrete launch ramp this year. From a revenue standpoint, so Jeff, if you could, there we go. This is the budget for this year. With the temporary repair, there would be no change. We would assume we would get the revenue that we anticipated as part of the budget. If we did not open the ramp this year, this is our revenue estimation, about a $100,000 decrease, and that is primarily due to the assumptions of losing all motorized boat launching and storage revenue, deferring any loyalty program revenue to the next operational year, and then reduction in parking passes that would be sold. As far as the expenses go, our 2022 budget has an expense budget of $260,000. If we did the temporary repair per the description that Jeff just provided, it would add another $34,000 of expense. And if we did not do and did not have the launch ramp, the expense would go down from the budget, primarily because we would not do the dredging that's associated with preparing the launch for the season. So kind of the bottom line analysis here is an expected surplus of just over $7,000 in the budget. With the temporary repair, this would go into our operational expense, so would cause a deficit. If you could show that, Jeff. Of 26,000, just over 26,000. And then if we did not do the repair, the anticipation is that we would have a deficit of about $64,000. So that gives us an operational summary, and I will pass back to Jeff to conclude.
Thank you very much.
Before we move on, Mitch, are those expenses for 2022 budget and with the temporary repair, does that include the dredging?
So yes, the expense for 2022, and if we did the temporary repair, that does include the dredging.
So that number is baked into the expense number.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Cal, may I?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I'd like to understand where our expense for a facility that is basically closed adds up to $221,000.
So we would still have, the thing with Park Avenue is that there is expense operating on the north side or the property management, similar to this year. We would still have, from a revenue standpoint and operational standpoint, we still would have small craft sailing, but the expenses associated, it does include some of the property management on the north side. So we would have our security contract. We would have some staff costs associated, whether that is staff who oversee the administrative functions of the storing, our workman expenses for preparing the beach on the south side, building the sand ramps, things of that nature. There would be also some equipment expenses. I do have it kind of detailed out that I could pull and give you that data exactly kind of line by line, but there are still some expenses that are associated with or without the launch. Really the biggest expense that gets dropped without the launch is the dredging.
But you're allocating costs from the whole project and you're spreading them out. Like you said, you have security at the north side and staff for the north side, but functionally the south side self-operating, isn't it?
I mean, there are some maintenance expenses associated with whether it be the building or the south grounds, as well as just general maintenance of the sand ramp and things of that nature that we would be incurring throughout the summer season.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Jen, since we butt in right here, do you have any questions or comments regarding the finances? You're muted, Jen.
I don't. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, if there are any more questions here.
No, Jeff, let's just move on to the summary.
Thank you. So talking about a proposed project schedule. So as I mentioned, the bid opening was this past Tuesday. And this evening with the Finance Committee, we are reviewing the bid results. Staff is recommending proceeding with this repair. And we are looking for a consensus from the Finance Committee this evening to bring this for a recommendation for approval to the January 26th regular board meeting. And if approved, we would aim to start construction in March and plan to complete construction in April. And I will say, while though that is our hope, weather is certainly a factor, and it would be possible that we may have to move the construction work to the month of April, but we would want to be completed prior to May, as we have to do dredging and put the boat launch in and other things to prepare the site. With that said, are there any questions?
Any questions or comments, Commissioner Freeman?
I have a comment. There's a lot, obviously a lot more value in keeping the property in good shape and dredging and being able to launch boats and those types of things. And just for the, obvious financials there, to me, it would seem like a no-brainer to have the launch operational. And on top of that, for every season that we are not able to launch, we then potentially lose. I mean, we know that we have had some people depart. It's one thing to ask them to do it for one season, and it's, completely another to keep it ongoing. I think that runs counter to the other efforts that we have in the works. And so for me, I think it seems like a no-brainer. Happy to hear what you guys think.
President Ruttenberg.
Can we go back to the prior slide showing the various revenue versus expenses? So what was the budget summary that showed a profit of $7,000 predicated on?
So that would be predicated on, the primary revenue sources within Park Avenue are going to be storage and launch. That's one of the number one revenue lines. This would also include the loyalty program this year. This would also include a portion of our general lakefront decal revenue, since the north part of the property is managed and people that buy that decal have access to that part of the property. And of course, the Park Avenue decals as well, and the North Shore Yacht Club license agreement, as well as their loyalty commitment for the year as well. It really, the expense side of things, one of the larger components to the expense side this year is the $118,750 payment or transfer really that would be made to offset the bond payment. So that's one large chunk of expense this year. The rest of it would really be the standard expenses that some I've already talked about, but the standard expenses that go with managing the property.
Okay. And we've always said that the bond payment allocation is an internal number, but putting that aside. Okay, I understand. I hear you. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, I have no questions or comments. My suggestion is that we move this to the park board so they can go on to the January 26th agenda. Is there a feeling between anybody else on the committee here whether this should be on the consent agenda or just on the regular agenda? And I'll start with President Ruttenberg.
I want it on the regular agenda because I'm not in favor of $26,000 deficit for what we're going to be gaining out of this.
Okay, so we're gonna put this on the agenda for the January. If it's okay with the president, he makes the agenda. But I suggest that the consensus of the Finance Committee is that we put this on the January 26th Park District agenda on the regular agenda.
Yeah, I agree.
2 out of 3 is consensus, so yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Cal, you're muted.
All right, thank you. We have to go talk about the breakwater boat ramp replacement project. Who's making it? Oh, Director Smith to present.
Yeah, that's me as well. I'm switching my presentation right now. right. Sorry for the delay here. It's not having the best luck with my computer tonight. One more moment. All right, I've got it right here and should share any second. All right, please let me know when you can see my screen.
We're good.
All right, thanks. I apologize for the delay there. So talking about the larger permanent replacement of the breakwater and boat ramp. As I mentioned earlier, the idea behind this is that if approved, this project would begin construction immediately after Labor Day weekend. So the last update we had provided to the board was back in December. Smith Group had provided a brief update on their work. The final task 3 that they were moving with, you would see the first 3 components that had been completed. They were still finalizing the construction documents, which they completed in mid-January. With that said, we fortunately were able to release the bid yesterday for this project. So the bid is currently out, and we'll talk a little more about that bid timeline in a moment. But as part of this final construction document, Smith Group did provide us with one final opinion of probable construction costs. So I wanted to briefly review that. The far right column would be the last estimate that they had provided us and we had discussed, and that was a November estimate. And now we have our final estimate with the 100% design. And as you'll see in the first half here, some slight changes. Those come from, as the drawings are developed, just better understanding of what's happening and also getting continue to get current estimates. And there was a little bit of a change here in the ancillary items and furniture. In the previous presentation, I had discussed the bollards and expanding to add bollards along the east wall of the breakwater, which we did. We've also discussed some solar lights. This includes the addition of a couple of solar lights to add some light in the breakwater area. And then you'll see we were holding a larger contingency when we were still in the design phase. We've reduced that contingency, and this is our total, $2,752,130. As I mentioned, we are out to bid right now. Once the bids come back, if approved, when we move forward, the contingency would be further reduced. Before I move on, are there any questions about the cost opinion?
When are you going to get the bids back?
I'll explain that in the next slide.
Okay. Any questions about this before we get to the next slide? Anybody?
No.
Okay, let's go to the next slide.
All right, so our proposed project schedule. As I mentioned, January 19th was the date that we released the bid solicitation. Our bid opening is February 17th. What will happen after that date is we'll work with Smith Group to review the bid results, and we will make a recommendation on a recommended bidder. And then we'll be bringing that back to the board on March 9th. Assuming everyone is in support of that recommendation, we plan to bring that for formal request for approval the March 30th meeting. Assuming that is approved, as I mentioned, construction would start September 6th with final completion May 12th, 2023. And as we had discussed in the previous presentation with Smith Group, it's possible that the contractor could complete the work in 2022. However, knowing that that's not certain, we are allowing for the work to go into 2023. This would be the final completion date. We have an earlier date in May that would be in April that would be substantial completion. Having final completion on this date would still allow us to conduct the dredging and then have the boat launch open for Memorial Day weekend 2023. That's the whole of my presentation. Are there any questions?
Are you looking for anything from the finance committee tonight, or is this more for informational purposes?
No, this is purely just an update for information.
And is there going to be a finance, I assume there'll be a finance committee meeting between February 17th and March 9th.
There may be, but we do not anticipate being prepared to make a formal presentation until March 9th. We're going to need a couple of weeks to go through them and check references and just make certain we're comfortable with everything.
So the next time we'll see this would be at the March 9th board meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments, Commissioner Freeman?
No, I don't have any. This looks in line with what I was expecting. Actually, a little better because the cost could have certainly gone up since November. Thank you.
President Ruttenberg?
Just, do we have any information about the grants we've applied for?
Not yet. We anticipate to hear about the grant in February. Essentially, February is, by the end of February is what the state said will be likely that we would get word on it.
Okay, so time-wise, we'll know about the grants before we take action on the contract approval.
That is part of how it was planned out. We are hoping to have word on the grant prior to the month of March.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have nothing else in this. We will see this back on March 9th. I know this has been a long meeting. We still have lots to go on the agenda, but I know we have some attendees who were probably interested in this agenda item. If you have something quick you want to say, I'll reopen it up for public comments. If you raise your hand quickly and promise not to speak too long. And I don't see anybody raising their hand. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Millard Bluff tree removal bid. Manager Grill and Director Voss to present.
Good evening, just me today. No presentation for this one. So at the Lakefront Parks and Natural Areas meeting, committee meeting last week, I gave an update on our Millard plans, kind of reviewed the steps that were recommended from V3. What staff did was we tried to be a little aggressive and forge ahead with some of the tree removals that was recommended on the bluff. So we did release a bid at the beginning of the year, and those bids came back last Friday. Some of the stuff that we heard was the timeline was too short. We had four contractors show up. We had also heard from a couple other contractors that did not come to the mandatory meeting. The time frame was too short. Access was extremely difficult as the entire, I would say, the north half of the beach was not accessible with the amount of ice and snow already. And then just the snow and the ice on the bluff was difficult as well. So we did get one bid back. But after reviewing this, Rebecca and myself, and we updated Brian Romes as well, we actually would like to not proceed at this point with the bid. We want to regroup and then repackage this with our grading portion that was always going to come into play later on in the year, and we'll rebid again as a bigger package. So not asking for any approval or consent to go to the board meeting next week, because we want to reject the one lone bid, and then we will regroup at the next Lakefront Parks and Natural Areas Committee meeting on future plans for this project. Any questions?
Well, I think that's easy. I have no questions or comments. Anybody else?
None for me.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your diligent work on this. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Hidden Creek Aqua Park slide and structure repairs bid, and I believe Director Card is to present.
Okay, 1 second here. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, you can see the presentation?
Yes, we can. Rock and roll.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm going to make a brief presentation here on some slide structure repairs that staff is recommending to be done here in the spring of 2022. The structure itself at Hidden Creek is one of our tallest structures at the Park District and that our patrons have access to. It is going into its 26th year of service. It consists of a stairwell platform and 2 slides. One's that is a speed slide and the other is a corkscrew style slide. As far as the maintenance that we do on this, we do general inspections every single day, as well as thorough inspections at the beginning and middle and end of the season. In 2019, just because of the age of the structure, we wanted to do a structural assessment of this slide, and we brought a engineering firm in. They did a complete assessment, and the good news was the general conditions, the platform, the staircase, the slides themselves, and the foundation were all rated in good condition, and there were no immediate action items. The one area that was noted in the assessment as satisfactory, but an area to monitor, was the railings. So the original railings were cast in concrete, and just by age and weather, there has been some rusting of the railings at the base. Probably best seen here in this picture. You can see the rust that's occurring right here at the base of that railing. We have done reinforcement on these railings as temporary repairs. And those have held up really well. These first 3 pictures from left to right are all from the 2019 study. You can see additional concrete that we poured here to help reinforce, a bracket that we put in with another rail to help support the railings. And this picture here is actually taken last week. It's the same picture as number 3 here, and you can see 3 years later, it's still holding up really well. However, when we did our postseason assessment, and knowing that this was in the capital plan, we really feel like this is the time to go ahead and make the full repairs to this structure. And the repair approach was given to us when that assessment was done. The project would include removing all the railings and salvaging them and restoring them. It would include removing all the damaged concrete, replace it with new formed concrete, and then encase all the railings in the concrete before we reinstall it. This should help prevent some of that rusting that occurred. And then reinstall the post into the new formed concrete. So we believe taking this approach, it'll bring it the railings and the structure back to its original condition. We placed this project out to bid, and we got 2 responsive and responsible bids back. Misfits Construction came in at the lowest bid, $46,400. And that's $3,600 under our budget. We did check references, which included 2 local park districts and 1 school district. They came back very favorable. So our recommendation, we're looking to bring this to the park board meeting next week for approval. And staff is requesting consensus tonight from the finance committee to include this project and the recommendation listed for approval on the consent agenda at the January 25th regular board meeting.
And was this project noted in our 5-year capital plan?
It was.
And was it, what did the amount did it come in under the 5-year capital plan?
$3,600.
Okay. Okay, great. So this was anticipated expense. I have no questions or comments, and I believe, is there a consensus of the finance committee to put this on the consent agenda for the next board meeting?
With one caveat.
What's the caveat?
Well, the question I have is there anything about this that should be passed through PDERMA?
So we would inform Paderma of what we are doing as far as the structure repairs. Paderma does come on site, periodically and will do inspections. They, are aware of our structural assessment as well. So we would update them for sure that this repair has been done.
Okay, then I have no other questions. I think consent agenda is fine for me.
Jen, you okay with that?
Yeah, same for me.
Okay, then so I want to apologize because I have these big screens on my desk, but it was somehow cut off that I skipped an item, which I'm going to go back to the 2022 copier lease buyout, Manager Johnson to present it. And by the way, Manager Johnson, this was no slight of you. It was purely the fact that I have insufficient screen sizes on my desk here.
Thank you very much. Actually, it was going to be myself, Manager Smith, that was going to present on this item.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Back in 2016, the Park District took a close look at our print structure. We had numerous printers and copiers throughout the district, not a lot of consistency. At that time, an RFP was put out and it was decided that we would enter into a 5-year lease with Ricoh. It would reduce our copiers down to a total of 11. And we've seen a significant savings in paper over that time. The system we currently have is very successful and it currently meets the Park District's needs. We are coming to the end of this lease with Ricoh for these 11 copiers. And at this time, the Park District has 2 options. One is to return all of the copiers and release another solicitation to enter into a new lease with a new company, or we could buy out the current copiers and then continue to use them until we felt they meet their end of life. At this time, staff is recommending that we move forward with the buyout. We feel that we can get at least 2, if not 3 years out of the current copiers. There is a separate agreement with Ricoh for maintenance of the copiers and toner. That would continue. So they would not fall into disrepair. They would still be maintained. We would just own the copiers. Our annual lease payment over the last 5 years has been $40,054. The buyout at this time is $25,425. So in 2022, we would see a savings of $14,629. If we did not enter into a new agreement in 2023, which we do not anticipate we will need to, we will save an additional $40,000. At the end of that year, we will reassess and consider whether we would need to release a request for proposals for a new copier lease. If we can continue into 2024, it would be an additional $40,000 savings. So once again, staff recommends with the buyout as we see significant savings and we feel that the current copiers are meeting our needs and continue to be sufficient. With that said, staff is recommending consensus from the Finance Committee to bring this to the regular Park Board on the 26th for approval.
Any questions or comments, or otherwise I'll just recommend this go on the consent agenda. Not hearing anything else from my other colleagues here, that let's put this on the consent agenda for the next meeting.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the renewal of the 2021 landscape service bid proposal. Director Voss to present.
Good evening again. Hold on one second. Okay, so I have 2 very similar presentations here. It may be 5 degrees out or whatever it may be, but it's never too early to start thinking about cutting grass. The reason why this is on
Director Voss, can
yes.
we take both of these agenda items at the same time? So we're going to take the renewal of the 2021 landscape service bid proposal and the renewal of the 2020 routine grounds maintenance service bid proposal. We could take these both at the same time.
Yes. Absolutely. So this is the routine one. I unfortunately I did 2. There are 4 or 5 slides I should have combined them, but I did not. Apologize for that. So we have two separate bids, two separate contracts in parks for mowing. One is just strictly mowing, which is the turf maintenance one. The second is landscape services, which is also includes mulching and rose maintenance at Hidden Creek and perennial maintenance and stuff like that. We have been under contract with Balance Environments for the last 2 years for turf maintenance. It includes 26 weeks at 29 different sites. We have been very pleased with their performance up for the last 2 years. Comes out to about $2,641.41 per week for these sites. This also includes what we are under the IGA are responsible for some of the school district sites. This work is budgeted at $68,677,000. It is part of the operating budget. And this would be the third and final year of this contract. We would have to go rebid out next year. But as I was saying, would like to push forward with this now to get these guys under contract. They are willing and wanting to and excited to, and want to get that taken care of before the spring is upon us. So that is the first one. And give me 1 second here, and I'll get the other one up. Sorry, 1 second here. Where's my other one? Same one. All right, I think I'm having the same trouble as Jeff did. He had as many open as he does. Hold on 1 second.
Why don't you just give us a quick summary?
Sure, no problem. So this would be the second year for the second year for the landscape services. It is again an operating budget. It is, unfortunately, my numbers are in front of me. It's about $50,000, $51,000. It includes work at NSSRA that they will reimburse us at the end of the year. Again, this was the second year, so we would like to get these guys under contract, as I said again. So looking for consensus from the Finance Committee to put both of these contracts on consent for next week's board meeting.
And unless I hear differently from my fellow commissioners, then that's fine. Put it on the consent agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the 2022 Sunset Valley Golf Club Cart Path Bridge Replacement and Removal Bid Results. Director Smith to resign.
Thank you very much. So the Sunset Valley Golf Club Bridge Replacement Project, we've now received the bids for the installation of the new bridges. Just a quick review here. As we've discussed before, this is going to be a 2-year project where half of the
Why don't we skip to the bids, because we've seen this a bunch of times.
Fantastic. Our low bidder was Copenhagen Construction. As you can see, we received 5 bids. And the budgeted funds for the total project, $755,000. The replacement and removal portion, this bid we're discussing is $455,000. The previous bid we've already approved for the bridge fabrication is this dollar amount. We also have a construction cost, soft cost, and we're holding a 10% contingency. With all of that said, we are anticipating being under budget by over $37,000.
Hey, now we can pay for the ice rink.
Okay.
Any questions about this, or I'll move on to this project schedule?
Is that it, Jeff?
No, I was asking if there's any questions about the budget, and I'll move on to the project schedule.
Questions about the budget? Hearing none. Next slide, please.
Thank you. So that was the bid opening. This is this evening. We are requesting consensus from the Finance Committee to put this on the consent agenda for the January 26th board meeting. Assuming we receive approval, we will begin construction February 14th, final completion April 29th. Any
No.
questions?
Unless I hear some objections from my fellow colleagues, I believe we can put this on the consent agenda also. Okay, all right. Next item on the agenda is, thank you, Jeff, is other business. Executive Director Rollins, is there any other business from the staff or board? We
Yeah,
have-
I'd like to, oh, sorry. Well, we wanted to go on to the, back to the West Ridge, unless you want to do, yeah, do you want to do that right now, Cal?
That's the West Ridge right now. Let's knock it out.
Okay, then we would turn it over to Amalia, Manager Schwartz, and she will give an update on what the West Ridge Center site improvement building project.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, can everyone see my screen? Doesn't look like it.
Yep.
Oh, you could?
Yes,
Yep,
yes,
we had it.
we
All
have it.
right, all right,
There
good.
it is.
Okay, so real brief, we've received proposals from Halliburton Root, and we are currently reviewing that proposal, and staff will likely come back to the facility committee on February 9th. And I apologize, it says the workshop, but the facility committee then to present the final cost proposal. We are now looking at a March approval for that contract. Any questions about where we're at with the Halliburton route? And otherwise I'll move to the pre-construction services schedule.
Any questions? I talked to Director Romes today, and I had several questions for him that they're going to come back with answers in a future meeting. So I'm not going to repeat those questions unless anybody else has any other questions. Okay, so subject to Director Romes addressing the concerns and questions I raised earlier today, can we move on? All right, please move on.
Okay. All right. So we are seeking pre-construction services. I believe we shared this in the previous meeting. Those services would cover cost estimating, attending meetings, and reviewing plan sets. And this on the right is our schedule. So we issued that RFP, and we are expecting to receive proposals back next week on January 26th. We'll have a short list on February 2nd, interview the week February 7th and 8th, and then seeking to award in end of February.
Questions, comments? No. Okay. Continue, Amalia, please.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Anything else? Amalia, do we have anything
Oh,
else?
no,
on
I'm
West
sorry.
Ridge?
No, nothing else for me.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Director Romes, is there anything else from around regarding West Ridge?
Nothing on the agenda now.
Okay, so at least on my cheat sheet, the next item on the agenda is other business. Is there anything else that we need to talk about before we go into closed session? And Director Peters is getting on the line. All of a sudden we see her, she appears, so there must be something going on with finance.
It wouldn't be a finance committee meeting if she did not appear.
I know, I feel so left out today, but just to remind everyone that we will be having our next finance committee meeting and our facility and recreation committee meetings on February 16th at 5 p.m. And that's it.
All right, there's been two things I wanted to say. I won't rail against that, and I copy that. So I've been holding back on those, okay? All right, so anybody else, any questions on that? So the next item on the agenda is open to the public to address the board. Executive Director Romes, is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board?
2 members are currently here, and I do not see any hands raised at this time, so the answer would be no.
Going, gone. Okay. Next item on the agenda is closed session. Are we going to closed session tonight? Hopefully it's short. Raise your, I like to shake your head. Okay. So closed session, we're going to go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Open Meetings Act. Section 2C1, the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park district, a park, recreational, or educational settings, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body. So before I entertain a motion to do that, so we have a separate Zoom link to go into closed session, is that correct?
That's
Do we have
correct.
to come back into open session? So we're going to leave this open?
This will stay open.
Okay, so we're going to keep this Zoom link open so we can come back after closed session. So I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session as I recited earlier.
So move.
Second.
I heard there's a motion from President Rundberg, a second from Commissioner Freeman. Roxanne, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
President Ruttenberg.
Yes.
Aye, the ayes have it. We are going into closed session at 7:11 PM. And thank you for whoever's leaving. Thank you very much for a very productive meeting.
Okay, so we have to close this one.
Uh,
We have to leave this.
Leave the IT department, Manager
Leave.
Johnson will be staying here, and we will be going there.
Cal, you have to call us back into open.
Cal, you're muted.
Okay, I'm back. All right, so that was a little complicated for me. Okay, so we're coming out of closed session at 7:23. Is there anything else we'd like to discuss in open session before I entertain a motion to adjourn?
You just, okay. Finance Committee reconvened at.
Yeah.
Open.
7:23.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion
Let
by
me
President.
let me just make sure there's nobody here. There's 2 attendees. I don't know if you want public
Okay.
comment.
There's, we have 2 attendees.
Yes.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to address the board prior to entertaining a motion to adjourn? If there is, please use the raise hand function on your on Zoom. So I see Mr. Garrett, Ms. Knapp. Do either of them want to address? Please raise
No
your
hands raised.
Since there's no hands that are raised, I will entertain, we have a motion on the table to adjourn. There's a second by Commissioner Freeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We have adjourned at 7:24 PM. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.